Hello, YouTube. It's your boy Nathan coming to you to do another recap video. Today we are talking 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, Season 7, Episode 21, Tell All Part 1. And woof! Yeah, so let's just get on into it. So we finally reached The Other Way Tell All, and everybody's arriving in the studio. I think Anthony and Manon came together, but Manon is just like so eager and walking a block. She was walking a block in front of Anthony to the studio and everything. Really hoping that Anthony defends her during this tell-all, basically, and stuff and everything. Then we seen Greta come in. They actually showed her at a little restaurant eating first, and the producers asked if we have like somebody from your past come in today, like will you be expected? And she was like, well, I don't know. Who would you guys have? I really don't know, basically. So she comes in, Jenny comes in, Chloe comes in, and Patia comes in. And yeah, so everybody's just coming in and getting ready as they normally do. Manon is a big fan of Jenny. She gave Jenny a hug, saying that she was a big fan. But we seen Patia and Jenny have a conversation. They can relate because they're having issues with the in-laws and stuff and everything. And we'll dive more into that on next week's recap with that one. But yeah, so it was a good bonding moment. Luke comes in and stuff and everything. So everybody's sitting there talking, and then we finally hit the set. We hit the set, and Sean Robinson comes in, and she goes and says hi to everybody. And in this tell us she does something different. When she says hi to everybody, I guess there's been a question from somebody from the cast that they wanted to ask each other or whatever. Like, for instance, somebody asked Chloe, "Are you still scared of the gas stove?" Because remember when Chloe first got to Aruba, she had issues with that gas stove and stuff. And they asked Submit, like, if you didn't meet Jenny online and she was just scrolling through India, would he still fall in love with her? He at first he had a hard time understanding the question, but he said that he still would. What was the other questions? I forget what they asked. They didn't ask. I forget what the other questions were. It's not really important anyway. But those were like basically the big questions. So they go around and say hi to everybody. Little miscellaneous updates. Anthony and Manon are like basically swapping. Manon loves being back in America, and Anthony prefers to be in France, surprisingly. And we'll talk more about that in a few. What else we got? Patia is actually staying in the United States. Go figure. No surprise there. And Jenny and Submit are having marital problems. So, and then Luke and Madeline, Luke is not wearing his wedding ring. No surprise there. So those were the quick updates. So now we can finally dive into all the couples. And the first couple they talked to was Chloe and Johnny. So as we all know, last week Chloe and Johnny had that big breakup and everything. So they reflected on what happened in this little cheating scandal and everything, and timelines and everything. We really got nowhere, but here was something interesting that really popped up. We all knew that Johnny cheated when he asked some girls for those nudes when they were having their little interviews and the producers told them to put their phones down. Johnny cheated that way, but all the other stuff that Chloe saw was from the past. The only thing he did currently was just entertaining those girls with the nudes. And, there's still a lot of justification with that. Johnny kept on saying, I'm a guy, this, and that, and everything. And, I cheated, I'm sorry, I'm a guy. But, he's still bringing up that, but Chloe, you did everything you can to make my reputation be this bad and everything. And Chloe was like, well, you made your bed and now you got to lay in it and stuff and everything. And so Johnny revealed that Chloe actually cheated as well. Online cheated, I guess, and this is around the same time when I think it was like a little bit after he was caught with the nudes, where Chloe actually had like a guy. Um, they referred to him as a sugar daddy that was, I guess, sending her a lot of money and stuff and everything. And I guess they were having like inappropriate conversations, basically. And Chloe did admit that. And then, and then once again, both Chloe and Johnny were taking jabs at each other. And, Chloe's like, this is why I would never didn't want to clean your house or do your dishes and cook for you and everything. Yeah, someone's sending me money, I'm taking it and everything, blah, 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 and everything. And she's like, yeah, I cheated and I own up to it and everything. Now, what was interesting about this is that I guess there's some tension between Chloe and Madeline, because they were just, Chloe said at the beginning, you have to tell her that she did not want to see Madeline. And I don't know, like, what really went down, like, if there was anything on social media between the two, but they were screaming at each other the whole time. They were, like, Madeline just kept on calling Chloe the B word and everything and flicking her off. Chloe was like, yeah, you can't do nothing and talk about the gas stove. And Chloe was just like, well, at least I don't have a man paying for me like you do and everything. She's like, oh, no, I can pay all my own stuff and everything. And then they just kept calling each other the B word and stuff and everything. It was quite entertaining, to say the least. so, so yeah, they're doing that. So then they bring out Chloe's friend Maria and everything to basically talk about this. And Johnny wasn't really too thrilled to see Maria because, like, he throughout the season he made it clear that he really did not like her. So they talked about like the timelines, and he just kept on saying that, Chloe, don't make me to be this serial like cheater, like you're telling your friend, especially Maria. And because I guess like Chloe's been telling Maria like every little thing and everything, and they just looking out for each other and stuff. But Johnny kept on making it clear that yes, I did this thing with the nudes, but I'm not a serial cheater and everything. And so another interesting thing about it is that, when we saw Chloe and Johnny break up and scream at each other last week and everything, and Chloe had left, apparently later that evening, Chloe came back and stayed with Johnny, and they were intimate. Like, what the heck? They were intimate after that long day of fighting and talking back and forth and stuff, and they ended up being intimate. I don't get it. Neither one of them just made, in my opinion, really made any sense. I mean, it was entertaining. That was the most entertaining part, especially Madeline and Chloe going at it and stuff and everything. Now, there was a part where Madeline did agree with Chloe on one thing and told Johnny that, when he said that about his reputation, and she's like, your choices, your actions, like, comes with this, basically, and everything. And Chloe was just so shocked that she was like, oh, peace, Madeline, thank you. But yeah, I don't know what the real beef is between Madeline and Chloe. I'm gonna dig a little bit more deeper into that and everything. But after their little segment, and we're still not done with Chloe and Johnny. We'll talk more about them in part 2 when we reveal Johnny's new girlfriend or whatever. But when they went on break, Chloe revealed that I see why Madeline may not like me, because Luke actually messaged me and asked, are we getting drinks after the tell-all, basically. And so she may have like a little early kind of suspicion. So I can see why Madeline is jealous of me, she said. Ooh, I can see why you're jealous of me. Yeah, that's some high school. Yeah, high school. And you know what? No, you know what? Both of those girls are young anyway, 24 and 20. Both of those girls anyway, they're just fresh out of high school anyway. So, not surprised on their behavior, and they just throwing jabs at each other and everything. Because, yeah, they both acted like they were in high school. They both did. So, yeah. So that was Chloe and Johnny for the time being. Next couple they talked to was Greta and Matthew. So, and this was Matthew is very, very soft-spoken. He's very quiet. He's really calm and timid and stuff and everything. He doesn't raise his voice, which is great. So Greta reveals that she actually still is living in London. She actually got a job with animals in London, and she likes it, and she really has no plans on really coming back. She came back to the States for the tell-all and before to try to see Hazel, her cat. And I did like this. The producers did video calling Hazel for Greta, and they showed Hazel just eating, not really paying attention. But Greta was just so happy and got emotional, and just seeing her cat and everything. And she said, with her traveling so much over there, like she just doesn't have time to be able to get the proper care to Hazel as she wants to, and everything. Which I respect that. I really do. So they talked about Greta and Matthew's little breakup, basically, and I said this throughout the season that when you have a breakup that is when you're not screaming, when it's calm and it's just random and everything, you know, even though it's nice and calm, those are the worst ones. I feel like those are the worst ones because Matthew was just caught really off guard about that and everything. So so they talked about how quick Greta basically, because remember it was only 4 days and everything, and Patia made a good point to this to Greta. She said, I did feel bad for Matthew in that moment, which he did. However, and someone said this before too, that I do appreciate that you didn't lingering on and just stayed longer and stuff and everything. You went there, you realized it wasn't the one, and you got out. There's nothing wrong with that. And in hindsight, there really isn't. It's just that it's just depressing to see because when it's just caught off guard, Matthew even talked about if this was the other way around, because Chloe made a comment saying I would have just text and say, hey, I can't do this, and Matthew's like, no, a text would. I think having this conversation in person was better, but he did say if this was the other way around, like we would have had a little bit more. I would have like gradually did it instead of just all at once and then be done and that's it. You got to have, when you're in a serious relationship like that, you got to really talk it out a little bit more than what they did. And he said that's the only thing, like, basically he's more upset about. They didn't talk more about it, which I do agree with him on that. So they talked about that, and then they brought out Greta's friends, their little grandma pack thing that we saw when we first met Greta. And they started attacking Matthew. They were like, you didn't do nothing in this relationship. And one of the girls was like, you didn't even make a room in a drawer for her, basically. And they're right. But is that the real reason why they broke up? Is because he didn't make the room. He didn't make room for her in a drawer, room and drawer for her. I mean, yes, that was not cool, but but is that the real reason? Greta said that when she got off the train, that's when immediately when she got off the train stinking, I'm gonna add that in, when she was stinking, getting off that train, she realized that this, like, Matthew may not really be her person and stuff and everything. And it's unfortunate because I thought they were my favorite couple this season, and I'm sad that it happened. So the update is that Matthew does have a new girlfriend. He does, like, I guess he did move out of his parents' house and everything, and he doesn't want to talk too much into it. They asked, like, have you been intimate with your girlfriend? How long has it been? And he said, like, he met his girlfriend 5 months after him and Greta broke up. And I feel like 5 months is plenty of time. That's plenty of time. Patia said that was quick. No, I think that was plenty of time. That was plenty of time. And, in terms of intimate life, he doesn't want to reveal too much of anything with that, and I can respect that. And so Sean had asked them, are there any parting words for you guys? And they wish each other luck. They don't have any hatred for each other. They don't talk to each other, but there's no hatred between Greta and Matthew. So yeah, that, it was sad, but I'm glad that Matthew found somebody else, and I hope Greta can too. So yeah, that was Garnet and Matthew. And the last couple they talked to on this part one is freaking Anthony and Menon. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't wait till we don't have to see Menon again. She is so over dramatic. Now, it was as I said in the beginning. Um, currently they're both in the United States for the filming of the tell-all, but Manon likes the States. He and Anthony likes France. Anthony got a new job. I think he said at a restaurant in France and everything, and I guess he's liking it there. They talked about how Manon is not really happy in their neighborhood that they picked, and talking about the a-hole of France, basically, and stuff and everything, because there's nothing to do. But then Manon, told us something very interesting. Manon in a town in a village that she really is not a fan of and calls it the a-hole of France. Manon reveals that she is running for mayor in this village, basically. And everybody's just like, wait, what? Sean asked the cast, like, who would vote for Manon if you were living in this village? And the only person that raised her hand was Chloe. because because Submit was like, look, in politics you gotta be a lot more nicer than what you are. And he's like, well, you're saying I'm not nice? And he's like, well, you basically have an attitude, basically, and everything. So when it comes to politics, you gotta be nice. And I agree. And you're not gonna sway your voters if you are talking about their village, how bad it is, and it being in the a-hole of France. You gotta love your country, and you gotta love your village. And so they talked about that, and then now they switched their attention to jealousy and trust issues or whatever. We all know Manon just is over dramatic. They show clips of all her little meltdowns of them disagreeing over money and spending time with the son and everything. So it was revealed that Manon really gets mad at Anthony for talking to his family. Manon goes through Anthony's phone and she blocked everybody, like his aunt, his mom, and everything on social media and everything. Because apparently they've been talking crap about her. Well, Manon, a lot of people have been talking crap about you and everything. And so they brought out one of Anthony's aunts, and she confirmed that, yeah, she takes his phone. There was one time that there was a text message sent on Anthony's phone, and she could tell it wasn't Anthony because he doesn't use emojis and stuff. Manon said that he was with me and stuff, so she was like, "Oh, you're telling him to say that, basically, and everything." She's like, "Yeah," and everything. Anthony's just basically drained out of this whole thing because Manon is just too much, and it's just that she resents him for a lot of things. Like, she claims that she does a lot for him, and he's claiming he does a lot for her, and there's a lot of resentment. And everybody's asking, do you love him? Because that is your husband, and y'all have a kid together. Do you love him? And she's like, I do love him, but that he needs to stick up for me more. He needs to be there for me more and everything. And I'm like, he is doing, but I feel like Anthony throughout the whole season has done everything he could to make Manon happy. But, nothing he does is ever good enough for her. We've been saying all season that she's got a bad edit and everything. And maybe she has, but she's still not getting a good one. And, I can't always blame terrible editing all the time. When you're a crazy person, bad editing or not, you're still saying mean things and hurtful things. And Anthony, he looks really good. He cut his hair, he cut that mustache that he had and everything. He looks really good, but he is just strained out of this relationship with Manon, and he's even talked about the possibility of getting divorced. And so they finished up having a conversation and everything, and then they go on break. And Manon is just like, why is it, and tells him, why is it everybody here more important to you than me? Because she wants to pack up her stuff and go. And I'm just like, go, bye, let her. and everything. He's like, no, we got to stay for everybody. And she's like, everybody here is more important to you than me, and everything. And so she takes off her dress and puts on her clothes and then runs out the studio. Chloe tried to go talk to her. Luke tried to talk to her, and and like we'll see if she really goes or not next week. But I mean, Manon is just way too much, in my opinion, way too much. So, and and trust me, if I was living in that village and she's running for mayor, she's not getting my vote, because Sean even said, and they pulled a clip, when they pull up them clips of you talking about it being the a-hole of France, they're going to look into that. And so we're going to look into that now too. We're going to pull the clips of that. She ain't getting my vote if I was living there. I'm sorry. Normally I would support, my 90-dayers and stuff like that and everything, but when we have too much political nonsense here in America as it is that I'm not going to get into, but we just can't be disrespectful to our own country, to our own village that you're trying to run. So like if you do get voted to be mayor, like what are you going to do? I wish they would have asked that. I wish, like, if she was voted mayor, like what are your plans for that city and stuff. And so, and as for treating the like, blocking the family and everything, that's his family. Like, I just, you know, I don't know. I really don't understand why people get so mad. Like couples get so, it's one thing that, if Anthony was talking to other girls and stuff and everything, but he's not. He's talking to his own family. And I cannot stand when people get so mad, like couples get so mad at their partners for talking to their family so much. That's their family. They were their family first. Yes, you are. They're your family now too, and I agree with that. But you can't block them and tell them not to talk to them anymore. They're trying to be helpful and they're trying to be supportive, because you're clearly not making him happy, and so he needs a support system, and you're not giving him none. So, and then she's like, go, bye, just go. And Anthony has always said that every time we have these conversations, she always likes to do that, then tell me to go, just go, bye. I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible mom. I'm a terrible girl. I'm the villain. But just her over dramaticness is just way too much. So we'll see if she really stays or goes for next week. And that was basically it for this part one of the tell-all. Next week we'll dive more what's going on in Jenny and Submit. We'll dive more what really was really happened with Luke and Madeline, and we'll see if Luke and Chloe are really together or not. We'll find out who Johnny's new girlfriend is, and we'll see what's going on with Patia and Dylan. On social media, it looks like they're still together, but I don't know. But yeah, so that was basically it. That was part one of the Other Way Tell-all. And yeah, like I said, the Johnny and Chloe and Madeline thing was was the most entertaining part of it, in my opinion. So yeah. But anyway, guys, that is the end of my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be back on Sunday and Monday to recap before the 90 days. And part two, and then we'll do part two of the tell-all next week. And then we have a break the week after for the Super Bowl for B90. And then we start the single life. So I'm excited for that. And I keep saying that I'm still trying to watch some new stuff to see what else I can cover on this channel, because I don't know when Married at First Sight is coming back. There's been some leaks on some things, but we don't have a release date for Married at First Sight. So yeah, I'm still trying to find some good shows to watch and to cover on this channel. But until then, y'all stay safe. It's still snowing outside. It's still cold, so everybody still be safe from that. Thank you guys so much for your love and support, and I will see y'all again soon. Love you guys. Bye.